So I had to come back before the top of the hour. As I promised, we're preparing that briefing at the ANC headquarters in Luthuli House. The Secretary General of the ANC is just about to speak. Let's take you there right now.
Where is that? Okay, let me, Pula has already apologized and apologize to yourselves and the public out there for starting late. This is the statement of the outcomes of the African National Congress NEC, which was held from the 6th to the 8th of December 2020, the last NEC for the year. The African National Congress want to welcome the outcome of the municipal by-elections held on Wednesday, which is yesterday, the 9th of December 2020, with the ANC securing obviously an overwhelming win of 71% of the 24 wards contested. We are humbled by this great show of confidence by the voters in our movement. We don't take this for granted. The ANC retained all 12 wards nationally, but what is more significant is that we won 2 wards in Oudtshoorn in the Western Cape, which were previously held by the Democratic Alliance, the DA. We also won 3 wards from the Better Residents Association in Mpumalanga. We want to thank our volunteers and all South Africans who have voted for the African National Congress. These outcomes are also a positive building block towards a decisive victory in the upcoming local government elections in 2021. Our electoral performance is a confirmation that our people across the country continue to have unwavering confidence in the African National Congress as the only vehicle that will transform their lives. Through our election subcommittee, our election subcommittee will be issuing a comprehensive statement on these outcomes. We thank all our volunteers, as I've said, the communities and leadership structures for leading the charge in securing this overwhelming victory. And we want also to thank the media for having highlighted and educating our people about the need to vote. In terms of the second wave of coronavirus, we have entered the second wave of the pandemic as announced by the Minister of Health, Comrade Zweli Mkhize, and we urge all our people to comply with measures intended to curb the spread of the virus. Unless we observe the basic protocols, the second wave will leave devastations in our midst. Let us not let our guards down. We know the pain that has visited families and communities throughout the country whose loved ones since once succumbed to the pandemic. Is the loss of one life too many? We must all remember COVID-19 knows no Christmas, it knows no New Year, no festive season. Let's continue to wear our masks, maintain social distance, and avoid larger gatherings. Let's do it together. In terms of the National Executive Committee, we said, as I've said, on the 6th and the 8th, the National Executive Committee of the ANC welcomed the political overview and the National Working Committee report, which both reaffirm the mandate of the 54th National Conference to the National Executive Committee with regards to organizational renewal and unity. The primary emphasis obviously remains the need to restore the relationship between the ANC and the people, its integrity and the ANC role as a decisive agent for change and the leader of society, and specifically the objective of radical socio-economic transformation. The National Executive Committee held robust discussions over the 3 days that it was in session on the matters and resolved as follows. We focused on specific matters. One of the key matters we focused on was on the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide, as well as violence against children. And the National Executive Committee appreciated campaigns by the ANC structures, the ANC Women's League in particular, and various sectors of our society to raise awareness, champion the cause of victims of GBV and femicide, outrage at violence against children, and to address the underlying causes of GBV and femicide. And we want to also acknowledge the specific focus on the role of men and other organizations, men and boys, in combating GBV, in fighting against patriarchal and sexist attitudes and practices. The National Executive Committee again welcomed the dialogue and engagement with and amongst men and boys on these issues, and noted that all the efforts and activities throughout the year culminated in the 16 days of activism, and that we must continue with the battle against gender-based violence and for the safety of all our children for each of the 365 days of the coming year and beyond. And we want to appreciate any role played by all men out there in society. I know today at 7 o'clock, Silomake will also be hosting a dialogue with young boys. The National Executive Committee in particular welcomed the decisions of the just concluded special extraordinary AU summit to the effect that a high-level event on gender-based violence should be held before next ordinary summit of the AU in February 2021, and recommitted the ANC to continue the struggle to build a non-sexist society, including addressing violence against women in our ranks where it rears its ugly head, the financial and economic inclusion and
by calling another man who's in your age group cheeky. Is that how you speak to people that you respect, or is that reserved for African people?
That word cheeky is about attitude, not the persona.
Can I just object to Mr. Mpofu editorializing on the answers he's getting from the witness?
It's either the words are in the transcript, cheeky, and you must grow up, or they are not. It's not editorializing. It's here in black and white.
You accept the transcript as correct, in the sense that it reflects what transpired between you and Mr. Moyane.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
SABC News has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to broadcasting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful to children, does not amount to hate speech, and contains no gratuitous violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, you may inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaint to PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024, or send a fax to 011-326-3198, or email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Rory Mbete says the thought of his innovation started in his grandmother's bathroom that didn't have a wash basin. This sparked a smart idea in him.
So every time we needed to use the bathroom, we had to use the toilet and go outside, wash our hands, then you can continue with your day. One thing that I knew, I was chilling with my friend and I realized that actually, the toilet flushes with fresh water. So why don't we wash our hands inside the toilet? And that's how we started to wash our hands throughout the whole day. And as we were washing our hands, I realized that, okay, fine. If we can save all the basin water we're supposed to use today by washing our hands inside the toilet system, it means South Africa can save water also.
Experts say South Africa is fast approaching water scarcity. This is a warning that sprung Mbete into a problem-solving, innovative and entrepreneurial action.
Our unit or the P basin, we've tried to combine a basin element with a urinal element, where the male user will urinate here. As they flush the toilet, they'll wash their hands on top here, and that water will seep through to wash off the urine inside.
The products are currently being used in various schools to foster hygiene education. The business also sells and hires out to the public. Mbete says with sustainability and durability in mind, the products are manufactured locally using plastic.
Apologies for the cut in that video. We've got our link back to that briefing at Luthuli House. Let's take you back there. That feed just dropped for a short while. Let's take you back there.
Political imperatives and intentions of conference as well as the legal opinions. This must be done in the interest of consistency and uniformity, and with the intention to finalize the step-aside guidelines of the organization as a whole for consideration and adoption by the National Executive Committee at the beginning of the new year, 2021. The NEC stressed in dealing with all these matters of integrity and the fight against corruption that remedial action should be applied in an even-handed manner to all members at every level of the organizations. It noted that any inconsistent application of the rules and the constitution of the ANC will undermine the unity of the movement. The ANC should uphold the rights of all members and protect the integrity of the movement without fear or favor. The National Executive Committee further noted the report of officials on all these charges and the fact that the SG of the ANC has volunteered to present himself to the Integrity Commission. The officials will process whatever outcomes of all this engagement as well as the determination of the Integrity Commission and accordingly report to the National Executive Committee. The NEC recalled the conference support once more for Commission on State Capture and appreciated the work of the Zondo Commission under very difficult circumstances. We believe that the Zondo Commission will play its role objectively and don't actually be influenced by anyone. And we noted the excellent work done by the Deputy Chief Justice as the head of the Commission. On the state of the organization, the National Executive Committee appreciated the comprehensive report on the state of the ANC throughout the country and therefore decided that all conferences should take place between January and April. Conferences from the branch level, regional level, as well as all the provinces which are supposed to go to conferences. That is the province of Mpumalanga, the province of Northwest, the province of Western Cape, as well as the province of Northern Cape, because their term comes to the end in April, so they will be within their term to take their conference, their province to the conference. The ANC NEC further ratified the cut-off date for members to renew their membership as the 15th of December 2020. The NEC welcomed the social media campaign to encourage members to register on the system, to check their status, and if necessary, to renew their membership. We have noted our membership, it has increased, but we have noted also that some of our members, their membership cut-off date is the 15th, and they might have actually expired before the 15th of December, and we're encouraging all members to ensure that they actually renew their membership. This membership will be used for branch conferences, regional conferences, provincial conferences, as well as the National General Council, which will take place in May. So those regions and branches which will not meet the deadline, and those who are beyond May 2021, will ensure that either we bring their term closer, if it's legally permissible. If it's not, we'll ensure that those terms who expire during after May, because after May we want to focus on local government elections, we will ensure that we extend their term. In terms of Northwest, the National Executive Committee noted progress reports, and they decided that we will still go back to Northwest to work with our structures from branch level, regional level, and the provincial level, the IPC, and we'll make sure that we process whatever matters which are still outstanding. The details of this media release has been sent to all the provinces, including Northwest. We will focus on all municipalities throughout the country, our metros, and ensure that we ready ourselves for the coming local government elections. In terms of rebuilding the ANC Youth League, the NEC welcomed the report from the National Youth Task Team and the engagement by the national officials and the NWC with the NYTT on progress to rebuild the ANC Youth League. We reaffirm the need for a radical and militant ANC Youth League led by young people who must be able to advance the twin task of the League, that is to unite and lead young people in confronting and dealing with problems facing the youth of our country. And number two, to ensure that the youth make full and rich contribution to the work of the ANC and the life of the nation. The National Executive Committee noted and welcomed the most comprehensive and detailed report, progress, and roadmap towards the National Congress of the ANC Youth League, which must be held not later than the end of March 2021. We will ensure that we also infuse younger leaders into this NYTT to ensure that the conference goes on as quick as possible. In terms of the alliance, the National Executive Committee welcomed the regular engagement and meetings of the Alliance Secretariat and Political Council. It was pointed out that these are critical towards ensuring common approaches to the transformation project and to forge a common alliance program of action. We further noted that specific issues raised by the alliance partners, including the need for a common approach to the COVID-19 pandemic, the crisis facing SOEs, proposals and implementation for non-trading days, energy security, the formation of an alliance economic task team, local government candidate selection process, and other matters which the National Alliance Political Council have discussed. The NEC encourages engagements on the reconfiguration of the alliance and to finalize it by January, as well as the implementation of the non-trading days. The NEC agreed that the ANC must be involved in discussions on the public sector wage and agreement in the context of the fiscal and economic challenges that our country is faced with. We know that government is engaging workers on this matter, but the ANC will want also to enter that platform to ensure that whatever agreement can be reached in the interest of the country will be able to do so. The NEC also dealt with the matters outstanding in terms of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We noted the engagement by the team led by the DSG, Comrade Jesse Juwate, with the Foundation for Human Rights and families of victims on the outstanding apartheid-era crimes from the Truth and Reconciliation process, and ratified the formation of a joint task team to pursue these matters. There are more than 300-400 cases which are still outstanding, and we think that this is the time for the Truth and Reconciliation outstanding crimes to be investigated. They were already investigated. Prosecution is supposed to take place, as well as matters of reparations to be given urgent attention in pursuit of transitional justice in order to give closure and justice to the families of victims of apartheid-era crimes, including crimes against humanity, as part of the process of nation building and nation healing. The National Executive Committee therefore requested that we must deal with these matters as soon as possible. On discipline, the ANC NEC once again condemned the public spells and public pronouncements by ANC leaders in violation of its communication protocol. It called on all ANC members, leaders, veterans to desist from such actions as they fuel divisions, undermine the brand of the ANC and the capacity of the ANC to give leadership to structures and to society as a coherent and cohesive force. Officials should continue to engage comrades who fail to adhere to the communication protocol and make them aware of their wrong behavior, and consequence management must actually chip in. On the celebration of January 8, the National Executive Committee noted the recommendation of the NWC, but took a decision that January 8, because in terms of the established practice of rotation, it was the time for Limpopo to host January 8, and therefore the National Executive Committee decided that Limpopo will host January 8, and throughout all the regional conferences of the ANC, there will be activities. We also noted progress in terms of MK veterans, military veterans unity process. We noted progress and also the persistent challenges with regards to the unity process, and as the national officials to urgently engage with peace and stability and to hold a joint meeting which will ensure that MK comrades go to a conference in line with what we have resolved between January and April. We have noted a lot of progress, and I'm sure we are readying ourselves for such a conference. The NEC also received a report on progress with regards to the implementation of economic transformation and recovery plan, and reaffirmed the focus of the economic recovery plan, which will be further engaged together with the alliance partners. The NEC in its discussions further emphasized the importance of the economic empowerment of women and paid attention to local economic development in the context of the district development model. So the women have been making a call that they have to participate in the mainstream of the economy, and that's what we have decided, that this matter must be elevated at all levels of government, in the private sector, as well as in society. The National Executive Committee also welcomed the report regarding the guidelines for local government election, candidate selection, and the ANC Electoral Committee. and in particular appreciated consultations with various structures on this guideline and further noted the concerns raised by various structures, including the importance of ensuring that the process must remain true to our principle of gender equality. The NEC adopted the report on candidate selection guidelines and the recommendations on the role and composition of the Electoral Committee, and urged the national officials of the ANC to further engage our alliance partners on their inputs before we finalize these matters, and everything will be finalized in January. On international matters, before the point before last, the National Executive Committee welcomed a comprehensive report about the key global trends which impact on the South African foreign policy, the anticipated changes in the South African missions abroad, and the NEC received updates from the Subcommittee on International Relations and progress reports on the following matters: the impact of South Africa chairpersonship on the African Union during 2020, the outcomes of the African Union Executive Council, in particular South Africa's candidacy for the AU Commission, the adoption of the 2021 AU budget, support for the DRC chairpersonship of the AU in 2021, the AU theme for 2021, the resourcing of the AU Peace Fund, and the operationalization of the African Standby Force, the mid-year AU Bureau meeting with the RECs and the extraordinary AU summit on the implementation of the African Trade Area, which will begin trading in January 2021. This progress was noted, and we also noted the issue of a Taipei liaison officer and its location in Pretoria, and implementation of a all-conference resolution in regard to international relations, and action on the South African embassy in Israel, negotiations between Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan on the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, convened by the AU chairperson, the issue of silencing of the guns and promotion of peace, stability, and development with reference to DRC, Mozambique, insurgency, and Zambia sovereign debt default. All these points were actually discussed and taken into consideration. The NEC as the International Relations Committee to continue working hard and briefing all South Africans on matters of international importance. On SABC, the National Executive Committee appreciated an intensive communication committee discussions and approach to ensure that SABC as a public broadcaster is strengthened in its entirety and within an entirely new environment, and we deferred the decisions on the draft resolution to be tabled at the NEC Lekgotla in January. We have emphasized the fact that we are still against retrenchments, not only in the SABC, retrenchments in general. In conclusion, the National Executive Committee of the ANC wishes all South Africans a wonderful and happy festive season. 2020 was indeed a difficult year that certainly challenged our nation in many ways. COVID-19 exerted mass suffering and also bereavement in many families. Our deepest and heartfelt sympathy go out to every South African who lost loved ones. Our nation suffered serious blows, and there are still huge challenges that lie ahead. But the resilience of our people was also once again reaffirmed. The National Executive Committee of the ANC wishes all our whole nation a wonderful, happy and festive season within the COVID context, and that we will approach 2021 with renewed hope and vigor. I think our statement ends there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. Comrades from the media, That's the statement of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. We are going to open just for one round of questions to help clarify members of the media, if there are questions. So Amos, you'll just pick up if there are questions coming out on the virtual platform, so that we don't deny those that are not here physically an opportunity to ask their questions. CD, Samkelo, Mangoba.
Okay. Sorry, I have a lot of questions. CD Magia from Eyewitness News. The issue around the legal opinions. Why is it that the ANC sought to get the legal opinions when I think you have a legal division? What are the costs of getting those legal opinions obtained? And was it not maybe a worthless exercise considering the financial issues that are happening at the headquarters of the ANC when you have, again, a legal division from what I understand? Secondly, Dr. Magashule, Secretary General, the Integrity Commission, when the outcomes come back to the officials, are you going to be part of processing the outcomes from the commission after going to appear before it, or are you going to excuse yourself from those processes? And then the issue of the Youth League, I know that it's said to be going to go to conference next year. From the sounds and things that we've been hearing is that they actually prefer the task team to be disbanded completely. Are you not setting them up for failure if you pursue a conference next year? Should they not start from fresh with young people being responsible as they've been asking to? My last one, the issue of the MKMVA versus the MK Council. I hear you saying that some progress has been made. How, when one side is completely withdrawn participation, and when the other says, well, we are going to conference on our own? Thank you.
Okay, Samkelo, 3 questions from... 4 questions from CD, MKMVA, Youth League, Chelete, and NYTT. Yes.
Samkelo Mazeko from the SABC. Mine surrounds the NGC. How will you be holding the National General Council, particularly knowing that we're in the second wave of COVID-19 infections? And it will just be after the festive season going on to March that many people will still be recovering from the pandemic. How will you be holding this NGC? Will it be virtual? Will you be congregating at NASREC once again, just like in 2017? And then lastly, Mr. Magashule, when you go to the Integrity Commission this weekend, Saturday, what are you most likely to present into the Integrity particularly noting that you, in the past, in this very same place, unless you are asked by delegates of the ANC through branches, as you repeated in the content? Thank you.
Okay, 2 questions from Samkelo. Ngoba?
Mine is basically that if the Integrity Committee does find that you need to step aside, is the SG that willing to step aside? Then the second one is that you've also mentioned the good work that's been done by the Zondo Commission. And I just want to know, would you avail yourself, SG, to go to the Zondo Commission, given the fact that there are some of the testimonies there that have implicated you?
Okay. Another question, SG, comes from Svungalo from Newsroom Africa. Says, Mr. Magashule, do you think that your participation in the NEC meeting, where you were a subject of discussion, makes a mockery of the ANC's commitment to dealing with serious issues of corruption? Should you not have recused yourself? And the second question, he says, Mr. Magashule, you say the ANC support the president's call for a change of behavior with regards to COVID-19. How does the ANC justify holding a live January 8 event when we are in the middle of a second wave? Okay, just as the SG is coming, okay, the other one is just from Stembile Tele, because the one for January 8 looks simple, we can handle it here. Stembile Tele from Bloomberg News, what is the status of the audit being conducted by officials which included SAPS clearance and I think financial declarations? When will that work be concluded? On the Integrity Commission, there are a number of reports which have been handed over to officials, some calling for people to step aside. What is the status of those reports? On the NYTT and the infusion of younger people, what will the process in reconfiguring the task team be? Okay, another one from Alex Wining of Reuters. Could you clarify, please, what exactly the NEC decided about a state pharmaceutical company? Because as far as I understand, there is already Caterpillar Pharmaceuticals, which is state-owned, and there is BioVac, which is a JV between the state and the private sector. Genevieve from Business Day, if the Integrity Commission recommends that you step down and it is in line with guidelines to be established by the officials, will you abide? I think those seems to be the only questions we have, SG. Just as you come to answer, SG, just to clarify, Svu, on January 8, there is still going to be a briefing that together with the team that is handling January 8, together with the SDO, that begins to outline the format that January 8 is going to be taking. So it's very important that we don't conflate all of the issues now. Okay, SG, you can deal with the rest of the questions.
Of course, the format of January 8 will also be guided by the COVID-19 regulations. We will stay within those regulations. And as Comrade Pula says, more details will be unveiled as we move on. It's work in progress, but we can tell you that indeed we will be within the regulations as stated by government. In terms of the audits and all that, I think that is the internal organizational processes and matters which we have dealt with and we continue dealing with. Now the state-owned pharmaceutical company, we know that there is progress in terms of that decision, and we are just saying we need to fast track and ensure that we move as fast as possible to also participate in finding vaccine for COVID-19 and play our role as Africa and as South Africa in the context of Africa. In terms of me having participated in the National Executive Committee, I'm sure it's an internal ANC process. I'm the Secretary General of the ANC, and indeed there wasn't anything to participate in that. I had to give reports to the National Executive Committee. We have already, January 8 as well as the NGC, the format will still also be decided for the NGC, so that we also remain within the guidelines. You have seen recently how the DA held its own conference, and there are different hybrids which we'll actually deal with, and the details will be further finalized as we move on. But we have thorough engagement, and we are happy that the NGC will continue within, if COVID is still there, within those guidelines of COVID regulations. MK, MVA, and MK Council, we have noted the report. Congress has been discussing. Peace and Stability has been doing a great work, and we know that there are certain issues which both members of MK, MVA, and MK National Council want to further engage on. But we are almost close to the national conference of all MK veterans. And I'm sure this matter has been dealt with internally, and we are very hopeful that such a conference will definitely take place. And we'll encourage everybody who is a member of Mkondo Wesizwe to come on board and engage in that process, because that process is the national conference resolution that we need to unite and make sure that there is one solid, united conference for all MK comrades. The issue of NYTT, we have stated it very clear. The structure must ensure that come March, the conference of the ANC Youth League Congress must take place, because on the ground, branches have already started, they are ready. From Limpopo to other provinces, they are ready to move, and we are saying if we have to capacitate and include more younger people, we'll be able to do so, those who are under 35. So it's work in progress because we don't want to stop the work which has already been done. The roadmap is there, and we are more convinced that the tasks which we gave to this NYTT will be completed. And we are pleading with all young people throughout the country, those who are members of the ANC Youth League, to give this roadmap a chance. And it will be implemented. They should be ready wherever they are. But at the beginning of the year, I'm sure we'll also infuse young blood into the NYTT. That is what the officials are seized with, working together with the National Working Committee. The issue of, well, we do have an internal legal infrastructure, but if you want to be more objective also, that's why the officials went to the NWC and NEC, and NEC mandated the officials to get more legal opinions so that we balance and we have both internal and external views, and take into consideration those views, whilst we understand that the question of the integrity and morality of the ANC is not just legalistic, it's a matter which is political, and that's why we gave the officials of the ANC such matters to deal with. But nevertheless, in whatever we do, we must be within the rules, the Constitution, the national resolutions of the ANC, as well as the Republic of South Africa Constitution and the laws of the land. This is what the National Executive Committee approved and resolved on before we closed the meeting of the NEC on the 8th. So the report and the media statement we are issuing comes out of the resolution which we have taken in the National Executive Committee. And I would like you to read that part on the National Conference resolutions on integrity, fighting crime and corruption. Don't read one clause, read all the resolutions of conference, then you'll understand what it actually says. So the Integrity Commission has been doing well, a very good work. The Integrity Commission is not a structure which always you go there. It's a structure which is also can correct people who are wrong. It's not a structure which deals, the ANC never deals with comrades unless if you are incorrigible. So that structure is doing its work, and it has men and women, we think they have been fairly doing their work, and we want to appreciate what they have been doing. So that work will be work in progress. I will be presenting myself as a member of the ANC in terms of the ANC Constitution. I have certain rights in terms of the ANC Constitution of the country, but when it comes to issues of integrity and morality, that's the work which the Integrity Commission will be focusing on. We appreciated the work done by the Zondo Commission, and I think we did not discuss many other things, lest I say things which are outside what we have discussed, except that we need to give support to that commission because we all agree that it must be established. So it has been established, and we give Deputy Chief Justice all the necessary support and his team to continue doing their work without favor, without prejudice, without being influenced even by the media. I think I've tried to respond to all the questions, including the IC, because there's nothing I can say about the IC until so that I don't prejudge and preempt what they are going to say. But it is right to appear before them.
There's a question I asked about outcomes and whether or not you'll recuse yourself from them being processed by the officials. Are you going to be part of the group with the top six? Obviously, you're part of them. Are you going to sit there and deal with the outcomes from the IC, or are you going to give the final official space to deal with what comes out from the engagement with the Integrity Commission?
Let's leave it to the ANC national officials to decide.
No. Thanks, SG, and thanks for clarifying members of the media on the need not to be preemptive. The ANC has got its own. The ANC has got its own processes. Processes of the ANC must be held to be conducted well within an environment that the ANC has structured. Yes, you can. The Secretary General of the ANC has volunteered to appear before the Integrity Commission. This is an act of courage that he has taken by himself, something that the entire National Executive Committee, including the President in his closing address, has commended him for. So let's allow other journalists who could not make it here physically, but they've been using the new normal, the virtual platform, to ask questions. Cadres who are here, I'm just taking there are questions that comrades have asked. You were given an opportunity to ask. No, but we need to allow. Yes, let's allow so that the media don't say we favored those that were only here. You know. So this comes from Lizega. Given that you reaffirmed the call to all members to cooperate with the Commission in a meeting which the former President was participant, are we to assume that former President Zuma has agreed to hit this call? It's not the first time the NEC has discussed resourcing the Integrity Commission to carry out their responsibilities. Has the NEC given the SGO and Treasurer General a deadline to ensure this happens? Unfortunately, journalists ask questions that the SG did not really. Okay, it's fine, but well, maybe they are getting information somewhere. Lastly, the SG should Luthuli House assets have been attached in a payment dispute with Ezoluni Investments. Are you planning to fight over the 100 million court order? Also, this journalist, of course, has got members of the list. Also, could you clarify Ms. Kubai Ngubani being redeployed from Northwest to Mpumalanga because of the death threats she received as convener of NEC deployees? So this is Lizega from News 24. So these are not the things that were in the statement. Okay, SG, just to clarify, on the issue of the debt and the legal issues, the Treasurer General's office is dealing with those and won't be dealing with that because it was not part of the issues that the SG presented on the statement. SG, can I allow them to give, follow-up questions? CD?
I just want to ask, I know the ANC said the Secretary General volunteered to go appear before the Integrity Commission. Is there an update about whether or not when the President will do so? For the President previously made a commitment along with you that he'll also go. When you speak about the ANC's resolutions, there is an issue of conference that something hangs over his head. Has he made an indication of when he will go to before the Integrity Commission? That's it.
Okay.
Can you please share the details of the meeting of the Integrity Commission since you're very courageous? Just the details, the time, the venue, so that you can be there. No. Samgelo, that is not going to happen. Your time will come when you are a veteran somewhere that you can be given that. Yeah? So not now, please. For now, focus on questions. SG?
Samgelo wants to disrupt the meeting of the integrity. It's an internal process of the ANC. So we are dealing with that matter. And Pule, you have already responded to the issue of the assets of the ANC. Here we are at head office. TG, as the Treasurer General, is dealing with all these matters. In terms of Lizeka and the issue of President Zuma, we appreciate the presence of, and you have heard President Ramaphosa talking about it, of President Zuma and President Mbeki in our meeting, not for the first time, because people thought that this is for the first time that President Mbeki was in this meeting. It's a standing invitation to what you refer as former presidents to be part of the National Executive Committee meetings. That's what we have resolved many years ago. Even the late President Mandela, whenever he had time, he could actually attend as invited. So that practice will still be there. And we did not discuss President Zuma's appearance in the Zondo Commission. It is President Zuma's rights and whatever. But what we appreciated is that we supported the Commission to continue doing its work. The issue of Kubai. We did not just discuss Kubai. We were looking at strengthening our deployment in various regions. For instance, Firoz Kachalia, we deployed Firoz Kachalia to work in Gauteng. We deployed Comrade Kubai to go and work in Mpumalanga, and we requested Comrade Ayanda Dlolo to go and work in Northwest. And we are going to reinforce that team. Lindiwe Maseko, we actually ensured that she's also deployed to continue doing their work, because I think comrades were still just floating. And we are actually making sure that as comrades assess their performance, and when they request to be moved from one place to the other, that's what we do, depending on the material conditions on the ground. But throughout our provinces, we can assure you that the NEC members have been doing a great job, and therefore we appreciated the work done by all deployees. By now you should be knowing that the likes of Comrade Dr. Kwele is now in China, as well as ambassador, as well as other members. Togo Tasa is now in Belgium. So they will continue doing their work. They are members of the ANC, and we appreciate the fact that you are here as the media, and thanks for informing the nation about developments. Thank you, Pule, and all the best. Okay.
No, thanks to the members of the media. I hope we clarified all of your questions. We will distribute the statement and make sure that yourselves, including our structures, have got access to the statement.
Can we just have a comment? I think you heard that the Deputy Chief Justice today in Tembisa said that we must reject the demon virus or the 666 virus. Just
we must.
666 vaccine. The Chief Justice said South Africa must reject, and the world must reject 666 vaccine for coronavirus. Just comment on the Deputy Chief Justice's views around the vaccines and concerns around the vaccines that are there for COVID-19.
SG, are you aware about 666?
No, I can't respond to what Chief Justice has said.
Okay.
His view.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks like you are expressing his views. Yeah. Okay. No, thanks.